Hi, JB from Anatech Corporation here. Today we're going to talk about the ESR70 and the Blue ESR meter, the two ESR meters that we offer here at Anatech Corporation. Some time ago we went through extensive testing of all of the ESR meters that are on the market and decided these are the two best ones that are available, and that's why we carry them here. People ask me three questions about these meters. One, what's the difference between ESR70 and the Blue ESR? They both do the same job. They both measure capacitor ESR. They do a fine job of it, but they do them differently, and there are differences. We'll go through those differences. People want to know, can I test capacitors in circuit with these meters? And the answer to that question is, that's a great question, because testing in circuit saves you a lot of time. Yes, you can, but there's a but, a big but. We'll talk about what that but is. The third question people ask me is, what happens if by mistake I connect one of these meters to a charged capacitor? We'll discuss that, and I'll tell you exactly how that works, and I'll even demonstrate it for you. So, let's get started. What are the differences between these two meters? Well, first there's an obvious physical difference. By the way, I've got the Blue ESR on this new case that we developed here, not case, stand that we developed here at Anatech Corporation. We make these on our 3D printer, which is kind of cool. It's nicer than the old stand, and it's half the price. That's a good deal. So, differences. First difference is physically they're very different. Okay, the ESR70 is a nice small package. You can slip it right into your shirt pocket and keep it handy there. That's neat. Blue ESR, quite a bit bigger, still easily handheld, fits in the stand very nicely. Won't fit in your shirt pocket, but you could, if you wear a lab coat like I do or anything like that, it'll fit in that pocket. The other thing is the Blue ESR case, I think, is a little more rugged. This is a tough little case, and you can rattle around in your toolbox without much damage. So that's the first difference. Other than that, they do the same job, but let me show you another difference here. I'm going to fire these up. By the way, on the Blue ESR, I've installed these very nice, this is an accessory that we offer for it, a crocodile clip, very high quality, very nice. Fits on the 4mm banana jack that's on the Blue ESR meter. Lots and lots of different terminations you can put on that. You probably have some in your shop. But I'm going to use these croc clips right now. When you fire up the Blue ESR, I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to zoom in here so you can see this a little better. Okay, let's take a look at using these two instruments. I'm going to fire up the Blue ESR. Just push the button. With Blue ESR, you have to zero your leads. Just connect them, push the button again, and it goes to zero. Now I'm going to measure this capacitor. This says 2200 microfarads at 35 volts. Should be a pretty low ESR. And it is, 0.03 ohms. Now, let's do the same thing with ESR70 on the same capacitor, and you'll see one of the differences. Open it up, push the button, says it's analyzing, measuring C, and it gives you the capacitance value, 2147 microfarads, and the ESR 0.02. Same as the Blue ESR. Incidentally, these two won't always give you the exact same ESR reading. It'll be off by a little bit. Doesn't matter. When ESR goes bad, it goes bad by a whole bunch, not just a little bit. People ask me about the accuracy of these meters. They're both very accurate, but it really doesn't matter because you're looking for an order of magnitude for a bad ESR. But one of the differences is ESR70 gives you the capacitance value, Blue ESR does not. Let's look at another difference here. I got a smaller capacitor here. The range of values for the Blue ESR is 0 to 99 ohms. The range of value for the ESR70 is 0 to 40 ohms. Both are specified 1 microfarad and 22,000 microfarads, but I've got one here that's a little bit out of the range. Matter of fact, it's a lot out of the range. 36 nanofarads at 630 volts. Let's connect the blue and see what happens. 38 ohms.
Oh, okay.
See that? almost out of the range of ESR70. But the Blue ESR meter read it.
Yeah, so what
Let's go to
happened was
ESR70.
They got released from customs to FedEx.
See what it says.
And FedEx paid.
Analyzing,
the
it says open circuit or low capacitance, which is exactly right. The capacitance value is outside of its range, it won't measure it. So ESR70 won't measure this capacitor, Blue will. Is that a big deal? Probably not. This type of capacitor is generally, ESR is not an important characteristic of it, but that is a difference between these two meters. Now let's take a look at what happens with charged capacitors.
Than it should have been. And the customer is saying, well, I'm not paying that, it's only a $100 item.
Next question. Can I use these meters to measure capacitors in circuit? Great question, because if you can do it in circuit, it saves a lot of time. And the answer is yes. But remember, I had a big but. Excuse me, I don't have a big but. No, that's the different but. Both of these instruments use very low voltages, around 1/10 of a volt, so they don't bias on any semiconductors. There might be other components that are in the circuit, but because you're looking for ESR, which is generally a low value, 1 ohm or less, or even a couple of ohms maybe, all the other components in there are going to be higher values than that, so they're not really going to affect the readings. So you can use it in circuit, except when you are checking decoupling capacitors on a power supplying rail, usually electrolytic capacitors, there's more than one on that rail. The circuit looks something like this. Here's our line. Whatever the voltage is, 5 volts, 12 volts, whatever. Scattered across the board will be capacitors in different locations, but all connected to that power supply rail and to ground. They're all in parallel. So that means their ESR, equivalent series resistance, are also in parallel. This one might be 0.01 ohms. This one might be 0.01 ohms. This one might be 10 ohms. No matter where you connect your meter, you're going to be reading them all in parallel. You won't see the bad one. It's going to read 0.01 ohms, because that's the lowest value these can get down to, regardless of what that one is. And that works no matter what the ESR is. So, sorry to tell you, because you don't want to hear this, but the only way to test them on a power supply rail is you've got to disconnect all but one of them and test them individually. Let's take a look at a specific example. Here's a motherboard out of an old Apple iBook. See these yellow blocks? Each one of them is a capacitor on the power supply line, all in parallel. If we wanted to test these, how many are there? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 of them. If we want to test these, checking for bad ESR, let's do it. Okay, I'm going to use the ESR70 this time, and I'm going to change the tips. Take them out. These are nice prods that we offer as an accessory to ESR70. Very handy for working with surface mount components like these are. I'm going to go in there and just turn the meter on. It's waiting for me to connect to something. It says monitoring for component. It's waiting for me to connect. And I'll go across one of these capacitors and see what we get. ESR 0.06 ohms, 500 microfarads. Does that mean all 10 of these capacitors are good? Nope, you don't know. The only way to find out is to remove them, all but one of them, and check each one individually. Sorry about that. Incidentally, we've got a set of probes that we could use on the Blue ESR meter. These are another accessory that we offer. And it just plugs in. Let's see what this gives us. What did the ESR70 say? It said it was 0.06 ohms, I think. Yeah, it's going that same spot. 0.02 ohms. Okay? They're within range. It says it's good. Could be a bad one in there, you don't know. Incidentally, these probes are also useful. You can track if you've got a short circuit in a PC run, you can track along the PC run because it goes down all the way to 0.01 ohms, 10 milliohms. You can find the short on that PC circuit. It's another use of both of these meters. They both do that. Excellent. Okay, now let's talk about charge capacitor. You don't want to test charge capacitors. You want to discharge them for your own safety, if nothing else. But occasionally we make a mistake. Let's do it. I'm going to zoom the camera over here to the power supply and we'll charge up this cap. Okay. Turn this on. I'm going to set the voltage at, no, it doesn't matter. 20 volts. This is a 35 volt cap. Charge it up. You hear that little zap? It charged up. I'll use the Blue ESR first, because this is one of the differences between these two meters. They go about this a little differently. Cap still has a charge on it, I'm sure. Connect the blue. 0.04 ohms. I got to zoom over there so you can see that. There it is. Let's do that again, because I flubbed it up. Okay. So, let's take a look with the Blue ESR first. I changed back to the crock clips. The capacitor still has a charge on it, I'm sure. Blue ESR just measures it. It ignores the charge. It'll do that all the way up to 50 volts, we guarantee. And I've tested at much higher voltages than that. It goes quite a ways before there's any damage to the unit from the charge on the capacitor. Let's see what ESR70 does. How does it handle this? I'm going to charge this again just to make sure it's still charged. Yep, it took a little bit. And I got to change the leads here. Back to the clips. You can see how easy it is to change these leads. Connect it to the charge cap. I'm going to let you watch what the meter does. Okay, I'm going to push the test button. It says it's discharging the capacitor. ESR70 senses the charge on the capacitor and discharges it and then measures it and gets 0.02 ohms, just like the blue did. Okay, so these two do things differently. The ESR70 discharges the capacitor and then takes the measurement. The blue ignores the charge altogether. But that brings up another interesting application of these two instruments. You can use them, one of them, to measure the internal impedance of a battery. I've got these batteries here. One of the failure modes of batteries is the internal impedance goes up. When it goes up, it can't deliver enough current because the internal impedance drops the voltage. Let's take a look at this battery here. .30 ohms. That's a little on the high side if you think about it. This battery, a drill driver might be called on to deliver 4 or 5 amps. 5 amps, 0.3 of an ohm, 1.5 volts drop inside, so the voltage is going to drop. The drill driver is not going to work as good. This battery is getting towards its end of time. You can't detect that any other way. What does the ESR70 do? There we go. Discharging. Every battery has got some charge on it. ESR70 is going to try to discharge it. It's going to take a long, long, long time. You really can't use the ESR70 to test batteries. But you can use the blue. So that's another difference. And it's an odd application, but you might have a battery around like this one. This is a big honker 6-volt battery. And you say, I wonder if that battery's still good. Yeah, I'm going to change to the probes with the Blue ESR. Battery out. And let's see what we got. We got fumble fingers, that's what we got. Okay. 38 ohms. Can that battery produce any current of any size at all? No, it cannot. This battery's no more good. Easy way to tell. Well, the other way to tell is to charge it up, take the time to charge it up and then try it. This is a real quick way of doing it. Let's zoom back up. Okay, what happens when you connect your meter to a charge capacitor? That's a situation you want to avoid if at all possible, but occasionally mistakes happen and it does occur. These two meters deal with that, but they deal with it in different ways. Let's take a look. I'm going to charge this capacitor up. I've got my power supply over here. Yeah, it's about 20 volts or so. It's a 35 volt capacitor, so that'll be fine. Charge it up. Now let's connect our charge cap to the blue ESR. First we'll zero it as usual. Connect it. Polarity doesn't matter. And it reads 0.04 ohms. That's what the blue ESR meter does with charge caps. It ignores the charge. We guarantee that this meter will be fine up to 50 volt charge. I've tested it at much higher voltages. It gets up quite a ways before damage occurs in the unit. Now let's take a look at the ESR70, see what it does with the charge cap. I'm going to recharge this just to make sure it's on there. Yeah. Okay. Again, polarity doesn't matter. Let's see what ESR70 does with that. Discharging. It's discharging the capacitor. Once it's done, then it makes its measurement. And there you go. ESR70 senses the charge on the capacitor, discharges it, and then does its test. Both deal with it in a different manner. However, that different manner has another effect. You can use the blue ESR meter to measure the internal impedance of batteries. One of the failure modes of batteries is their internal impedance goes high, so they can't deliver current anymore. Let's take a look at that. Here's a battery. Connect the blue to it. 3.31 ohms. Now you think about it, this is a battery out of a drill driver, probably wants to deliver 4 or 5 amps when you're really working with the drill driver. If you've got 5 amps, 0.3 ohms internal impedance, you're going to lose 1.5 volts inside the battery. So it's not going to deliver the power that it should be able to. This battery is nearing the end of its life. And blue ESR tells you that. If we try the same thing with ESR70, watch what we get. Discharging. Discharging. Batteries always have some charge on them. ESR70 tries to discharge it, and it will discharge it, but it'll take a long time. It's not really a practical use. So, much easier to use blue ESR to check batteries than it is ESR70. Look at this big honker of a battery. This is a 6 volt, 12 amp hour battery. This thing is built to put out some current. Is it any good? I'm going to change the leads here. With the blue ESR, anytime you change your leads, you want to re-zero it. It's still zeroed. See what we get. 38 ohms. Can this battery put out a lot of current? 38 ohms, half an amp. It can't even do that. 38 ohms, half an amp, 19 volts, only a 6 volt battery. This battery is dead. You could determine that by charging it up and trying it. That's a time consuming process. Blue ESR can check it for you and tell you right away the battery's no more good. So there you have it. All the characteristics and uses of the ESR70 and blue ESR. We covered all the differences between them. There are differences between them. We covered all the uses of them. And we even got into some new stuff. Tracing for PC circuit shorts and testing the internal impedance of batteries. So, now you understand, you can make your choice. Or you can buy both of them. Thanks for coming by.